Usual disclaimer, I paid for this product. This is not sponsored. All thoughts are my own. I know that this seems like a bit of an odd video to make, especially since a few people have called me Lionel's #1 hater in the past. I will admit, I have been quite hard on them for a long time, mostly because of my really terrible experience with their HO line. Lionel has always been the definitive O-gauge manufacturer, and when I saw this set at a train show recently, I thought it was time I give their modern offerings their due diligence. This is a very recent Lionel set. It first was featured in Lionel's 2023 Big Book catalog, and I do need to clarify something here. This set was very lightly used when I bought it. I have had to make a few minor repairs that I'll get into later, but I will be reviewing this set as if it were new. The locomotive has been oiled, greased, and the track has been cleaned, and the set is virtually as it would have been out of the box. In the box, this train set includes a locomotive, tender, boxcar, 3-dome tank car, a caboose, terminal track section, 2 straights, a plug-and-play accessory track, 8 curves, a transformer, line chief remote, smoke fluid, 2 extra traction tires, and an owner's manual. It's a traditional Lionel square box, and everything fits inside very nicely. So let's start with the locomotive, which Lionel claimed as new tooling, which is very exciting because it's not true. Pretty much everyone looking at the catalog could instantly tell it was very much not new tooling. This locomotive is derived from the old MTH Rail King tooling used in old MTH sets. It's based upon the Pennsy H8 Class 280 with a couple changes to make it a little more rugged and starter set friendly. I will say this is a very bold prototype to put in a New York Central train set. The real New York Central 1198 was a 280, and I think that this model is a reasonable enough stand-in for it. This locomotive is not an exact copy of the MTH tooling. The locomotive has been changed under the hood to Lionel's Lion Chief system. The main cosmetic differences between the two are very minimal. The MTH has illuminated marker lights, but the Lionel has crew figures inside. That's about the extent of the changes I could find cosmetically. The locomotive is still made with heavy die cast in both the body and chassis and weighs in at 4 pounds 2.9 ounces. Compared to a similarly sized post-war locomotive, the 2035, it's still a fairly weighty unit with less than 4 ounces of difference between the two. Body detail is minimal, which is expected of just about any starter set locomotive. It's about on par with Lionel's other starter set steamer, the 080. It's mostly just one cast piece with separate handrails and crew, and for a starter set, this is more than acceptable. It was fine for MTH for over 15 years, and it still continues to be fine to this day. Under the hood, the locomotive is mostly new. It uses a smaller motor than the MTH, but from what I've seen, it performs just as well. In the middle sits Lionel's Lion Chief chip with a very basic smoker unit up front. It's very easy to service, with the motor being held onto the top of the gearbox under the chip, allowing for easy access to grease the gearbox. Moving on to the tender, it's an all-plastic shell and it weighs very little. It weighs in at just over a pound. The only thing in this tender is a sheet metal frame and a speaker. It has no separate weights, no extra pickups. It does track well and I haven't had a derailment yet, even with some pretty heavy trains. Although, the weight is a bit of a concern for me, so I threw in an old brake pad just to increase the weight to be safe. The main fault of this train set, unfortunately, is this tender, as the speaker wires tend to break themselves thanks to a pretty poor drawbar connection. This isn't a fault of the locomotive specifically. Most, if not all, Lion Chief steam locomotives seem to have this problem. I have made the holes for the wires larger and gave the wires a bit more relief, so hopefully they won't pull out again. It's a very easy fix for an unacceptably big oversight, but there's a good chance it'll have to be fixed again at some point. The cars in this set are really nothing to write home about. They've been in the Lionel lineup for years, and at least the boxcar and tanker are descendants of old post-war toolings. I'm not quite sure about the caboose. I haven't seen this one outside of train sets from the 2000s. All are done up in New York Central colors and depict a more modern era of the system, with the pacemaker, boxcar, and caboose adding some much-needed color to this set. All these cars are nothing special beyond the cool paint job, so let's move on. This set comes with Lionel's modern fast track system, much like every other train set they currently offer. I've only had tubular up until now, so it'll be nice to have a set of track that will help protect the carpet in case of any leakages. This track certainly looks nice. Of all the current track systems on offer, this is by far the nicest looking. It's a really simple system. You just bring 2 tracks together and push. It's really that simple, and it doesn't take too much force. Setup takes just a minute, and the fit is strong enough to hold it together, but weak enough to make it easy to disassemble. To disassemble the track, gently wiggle it until it releases. This is both a blessing and a curse because it's easy, but if the track gets bent in any way, it'll more than likely come apart. I will point out that I do very much like the little textures cast into the ends of the rails of each section. All curves are 0.36 in this train set, which is very nice, as most O-gauge products will take this curve just fine. This is a modern track system, but it is fully backwards compatible with Lionel's older systems and trains. I bought a couple transition track pieces from Menards, and this train absolutely loves tubular track. The transitions make setup super easy and smooth, and all of my old post-war equipment also rides the fast track very well. It all feeds into this little terminal section here, and it plugs directly into the wall. I have my gripes with these sorts of things as my H01 broke itself. And this one is no different. I ran some of my post-war stuff with my conventional ZW transformer on this track, and it's just dead. Nothing I have done can fix it, so now it's just a normal straight section. It wasn't plugged into anything, so now it's really just a paperweight. So I'll be using my ZW to power this system, and it has an output of 18 volts, and the manual states that this is the correct output for this locomotive. The locomotive and tender coupled with a simple drawbar. Electrics aside, I think that this drawbar is a neat concept, and I understand the idea behind it. The tender does not have pickups, so this locomotive can run without the tender, but without the sound. The locomotive and cars have Lionel's classic and reliable knuckle couplers, and I can't prove this, but I think that the tolerances on the couplings are much tighter than some of my older equipment. It seems both couplers have to be open to get a couple. The tender is a metal one, and the cars have plastic ones. Once coupled, they are quite reliable, and it doesn't take too much force to get a couple. The locomotive is a Lion Chief locomotive, so it comes with this thing. This is the Lion Chief remote, and I honestly quite like it. It has a very high quality feel, and just look at it. It makes a lot of sense. I don't have to explain what these buttons do. The on-off switch is on the side, and it takes 3 AAA batteries to power this thing. The HO sets also have this remote, and I praised it there too. Turning on the power, the locomotive flashes its headlight and begins to make a noise I'm not sure how to describe. Once the remote is turned on, the locomotive headlight becomes solid and begins to make sounds. The locomotive has 3 sound functions: whistle, bell, and crew talk. The dial to the right is forwards, to the left is reverse, middle is stop. My cat can figure this out. First observations, this thing is loud, but the sounds aren't coming from the locomotive, it's coming from the track. One of the biggest complaints about fast track is just how loud it is, and it overshadows the locomotive at maximum volume. I understand this is a track system designed to be used on carpet, but pretty much any other surface is going to make a real racket. I'd suggest filling in the underside of the track with something soft that would help reduce noise tenfold, or you can just get tubular track. When this set runs on tubular track, it is significantly quieter. Track noise aside, this is a very nice running train. The locomotive runs smooth and can take the 036 curves with no issues at any speed within its range. Speaking of speed range, I am a bit disappointed in the low end. The locomotive seems to speed off at its lowest speed, and I'm not sure why they thought this was a good idea. The locomotive is nice and powerful thanks to its weight and the 2 traction tires on the rear drivers. It will muscle trains with heavy and stiff post-war cars with ease. The locomotive tends to make a fair amount of motor noise at speed, even when lubed. The locomotive is a smoke unit, and the included vial of smoke fluid is easy to add, but the end result is underwhelming with the included vial to say the least, so I threw in some JT Mega Steam, and the results are so much better. If you're going to have smoke, get some JT Mega Steam, it's worth the money. The unit gets up and going really quick, and the output is synced with the sound system. Speaking of the sound system, the locomotive chuff seems to be every 2 rotations. It really should be 4 per rotation, but this is a common Lionel issue, and they're not the only manufacturer to have this issue. It may not be synced right, or like, at all, but it's a really nice, throaty sounding chuff that is very good. The sound system only has 2 sound slots that can be run at a time. One is always connected to the chuff and other locomotive noises that occur in operation, and the other sound slot is reserved for the other user-triggered sounds. So using more than one user-triggered sound at once will cut the first one off. Very annoying for trying to use the bell and whistle at the same time. If you are interested, here are all the user-activated sounds the locomotive has.
Dispatch, this is NYC 1198, waiting on a signal to depart. We're loaded up and ready to go. Are we cleared onto the main? Dispatch, can we get a green light to depart the station? Freight is loaded and ready to go. NYC 1198 here. We need to maintain our schedule. Are we clear? Dispatcher, approaching our first stop. Getting ready to pick up additional freight. We estimate a 15-minute stop. We're on the move. Making good time and on schedule. Dispatcher, approaching our first stop. Getting ready to pick up additional freight. We estimate a 15-minute stop.
One of the nicest things about the Lion Chief system is that it's Bluetooth built into the locomotive. It's not like other systems that require a Bluetooth unit plugged into the track to operate the train. Lionel has an app to run locomotives that connects directly to them. It's intuitive and easy to use, but Lionel realized what they have and are beginning to utilize the opportunities that a Bluetooth app and train can offer. At face value, the app has everything the Lion Chief remote offers and voice control for locomotives. However, unlike my HO set, this one actually has a sound settings menu. In this menu, you can adjust the overall sound levels of each type of sound, change the pitch of the whistle or bell, and in the newest version of Lion Chief, in the top right, there's voice streaming and recording. Essentially, you talk into your device and the locomotive speaker will play it out loud. A super neat touch with options for live talk and space for up to 3 custom recorded sounds. Easily my favorite feature of the entire set, and I've used it for juvenile purposes. So, what's the verdict here? I can't exactly say this set is flawless, but I would be lying if I said I didn't really like this set. The locomotive is nice and sturdy with some bark to go with its bite. The colorful rolling stock is a fitting tribute to a fallen flag's history, and the Lion Chief system is beginning to embrace the power that a Bluetooth-controlled locomotive can have. But the problems with the drawbar and a second bad experience with the Lionel terminal section really holds this set back, not to mention the price. MSRP for this set is a whopping $450 putting it in the lower mid-range of Lionel prices, but the value is just not on the table like many of Lionel's 080 powered sets. I can still say with confidence that this train set is good and that I would recommend it, but the 080 powered sets should be considered first as they offer a very similar overall package for less. I do have my concerns about durability with the drawbar and the terminal track section being broken within the first few days. I'll be continuing to use this set for quite some time to come, and I have some short, high mileage updates on this set in the future. But as is, right now, I can safely say this set might be the start of a redemption arc for Lionel.